She didn't say a word. One shot, one echo, and every target on the field was gone. The impossible had just happened at Naval Special Warfare Training Center's most advanced marksmanship range. Lieutenant Commander Rachel "Phantom" Stone lowered her rifle and stepped back as dust settled across the 1,500-yard field where moments before, 7 separate targets had been positioned at varying distances. Now they were all destroyed, each one pierced through its center by fragments of a single bullet that had somehow defied the laws of physics to strike multiple targets in perfect sequence. Before we reveal this extraordinary account of hidden marksmanship mastery, impossible ballistics, and the moment that redefined precision shooting at America's most elite training facility, tell us in the comments which country you're watching from today. And if you believe that true expertise often operates in silence until called upon to demonstrate the impossible, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. The silence that followed the shot was so complete that even the wind seemed to pause in acknowledgement of what had just occurred. 46 SEAL candidates stood frozen behind the firing line, their advanced optics trained on targets that no longer existed, trying to comprehend how a single bullet had accomplished what should have required multiple precision shots from different positions. Master Chief Petty Officer Davidson was the first to speak, his voice carrying 28 years of military experience and absolute disbelief. That's physically impossible. One bullet cannot engage 7 separate targets at those distances with that precision. But the electronic scoring systems told a different story. Each target had registered a perfect center hit, the timestamps showing impact sequences that defied conventional understanding of ballistics. The woman who had been standing quietly at the back of the group, dismissed as routine medical support, had just achieved something that challenged the fundamental principles of marksmanship science. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Stone had arrived at Naval Special Warfare Training Center with transfer orders that appeared completely standard, medical officer assigned to provide healthcare support for SEAL candidates. Her credentials showed advanced training in combat medicine and battlefield trauma care, exactly what facility commanders had requested for their medical support enhancement program. But her personnel file contained classified sections that documented 24 years of training in the Pentagon's most secretive ballistics research program, designated only as Project Trajectory, a joint military scientific initiative that pushed precision shooting beyond anything previously thought achievable through combination of advanced mathematics, atmospheric science, and neurological enhancement. The program had been developed in response to intelligence indicating that enemy forces were positioning high-value targets in locations that conventional sniping couldn't reach due to distance, environmental conditions, or physical obstacles that prevented direct line-of-sight engagement. America needed marksmanship capabilities that could overcome these limitations through revolutionary approaches to ballistics and targeting. Project Trajectory represented the ultimate fusion of advanced physics, computer modeling, and human capability enhancement. The program's graduates could calculate and execute shots that utilized atmospheric conditions, terrain features, and ricochet dynamics to engage targets that appeared impossible to reach through conventional marksmanship techniques. Rachel's selection for Project Trajectory had occurred 22 years earlier during routine marksmanship evaluation when she had achieved something that military instructors initially refused to believe. During a standard shooting exercise, she had engaged a target that was positioned behind cover by calculating a ricochet trajectory that bounced her bullet off multiple surfaces before achieving a perfect center hit on the protected target. The incident had occurred during advanced marksmanship training at Fort Benning when Rachel was a young medical officer completing her military orientation. The exercise had been designed to test basic shooting skills under controlled conditions, but Rachel's approach had demonstrated understanding of ballistics that exceeded anything taught in military training programs. Her bullet had struck a concrete barrier at precisely the correct angle and velocity to ricochet toward a steel plate positioned at 90 degrees to the original trajectory. The ricochet had then deflected toward the actual target, achieving center mass impact with accuracy that should have been impossible to calculate without computer assistance. Lieutenant Stone, her instructor, had said while reviewing the impossible shot sequence, "What you accomplished requires mathematical calculations that exceed human capability and ballistics knowledge that isn't taught in military programs. How did you determine the ricochet angles and impact velocities?" Rachel's response had been delivered with the quiet confidence that would characterize her entire career. The shot required analyzing surface compositions, impact angles, and atmospheric conditions to calculate the optimal trajectory. The mathematics are complex, but manageable with proper environmental assessment. The extensive testing that followed had revealed capabilities that placed Rachel in an extraordinary category of human performance. Her spatial reasoning operated at levels that enabled her to visualize and calculate three-dimensional ballistics trajectories that most people couldn't comprehend even with computer assistance. Her understanding of atmospheric science, materials physics, and ballistics engineering had been intuitive rather than learned, suggesting genetic predispositions combined with unconscious analytical processes that enabled her to solve complex trajectory problems faster than conventional mathematical approaches could provide solutions. Project Trajectory recruitment had been immediate and comprehensive. Rachel's medical training continued, providing perfect cover for her real education in advanced ballistics techniques that represented the pinnacle of precision shooting evolution. She learned atmospheric analysis, ricochet mathematics, environmental compensation, and shooting methods that could engage targets under conditions that conventional marksmanship considered impossible. Her training had been conducted at facilities that combined university physics departments with military research laboratories, using equipment and methodologies developed through decades of study into advanced ballistics. She learned to calculate atmospheric effects faster than computer models could process, to predict ricochet patterns using materials science principles, and to execute shots that challenged observers' understanding of physical laws. But her most remarkable capability was the ability to engage multiple targets using single bullets that ricocheted through calculated trajectories. This required understanding of physics that exceeded most university programs, combined with shooting precision that approached mathematical perfection under any environmental conditions. Her specialized training included ricochet ballistics that could engage targets behind cover, atmospheric manipulation techniques that used wind patterns and temperature variations to curve bullet trajectories, and multi-target engagement methods that utilized surface characteristics to redirect bullets towards secondary objectives. The mathematics involved in her shooting calculations exceeded the capabilities of most computer ballistics programs. She could process atmospheric pressure, temperature gradients, wind patterns, surface materials, impact angles, and velocity requirements simultaneously while maintaining the physiological stability necessary for perfect shot execution. Her operational record with Project Trajectory included confirmed eliminations that were documented only in files secured in Pentagon vaults. Her longest confirmed elimination had been achieved at 3,247 meters using atmospheric conditions to curve the bullet trajectory around physical obstacles that blocked direct line of sight to the target. The shot had been taken in Afghanistan's mountainous terrain where a high-value Taliban commander was directing attacks from a position protected by natural rock formations that prevented conventional sniper engagement. Rachel's solution had involved calculating atmospheric pressure differentials that would curve her bullet trajectory through a narrow gap in the rock formations. The environmental conditions had been precisely analyzed to determine wind patterns, temperature variations, and atmospheric density changes that would affect bullet trajectory over the extreme distance. Her calculations had accounted for the Coriolis effect, gravitational influences, and atmospheric resistance that would normally prevent accurate shooting at such distances. The bullet had followed a trajectory that curved through the narrow opening, impacted the target with center mass precision, and eliminated the threat without any indication that American forces were operating in the area. International investigators had concluded that the commander's death resulted from internal conflict rather than external intervention. Lieutenant Commander Stone's ballistics performance parameters exceed all documented human capability models, her classified evaluation stated. Her ability to calculate and execute impossible trajectories represents evolution in marksmanship that redefines engagement possibilities under any environmental conditions. Her reputation within the most classified defense research circles had grown through achievements that challenged fundamental assumptions about the limitations of precision shooting. Defense scientists with the highest clearances began requesting Rachel for research programs that required capabilities approaching theoretical physics limits. Her assignment to the SEAL training facility served multiple classified objectives, evaluating advanced ballistics applications under controlled conditions, assessing candidate potential for programs requiring enhanced spatial reasoning, and conducting ongoing research into marksmanship techniques that could be adapted for operational use. Her cover as medical personnel was perfect for these objectives. Medical officers had access to all areas of the facility, could observe training exercises without drawing attention, and were positioned to assess candidates during stressful situations that revealed psychological and intellectual characteristics relevant to advanced programs. But maintaining her cover required accepting the dismissive attitudes that SEAL candidates often displayed toward medical personnel. For someone whose marksmanship capabilities exceeded those of legendary military snipers and university physics professors combined, pretending to be unfamiliar with weapons and ballistics required psychological discipline that matched the complexity of her shooting calculations. The dismissive attitudes had been constant since her arrival at the facility. Her quiet demeanor and medical background had immediately marked her as someone who lacked understanding of military combat culture in the minds of candidates who associated vocal aggression with tactical competence. Petty Officer First Class Marcus Longshot Rivera had been particularly vocal in his assessment of Rachel's apparent unfamiliarity with advanced marksmanship. With expert shooting qualifications and competitive marksmanship awards, Rivera embodied the precision shooting excellence that many candidates aspired to achieve. "Look at the doc trying to understand ballistics," Rivera had commented during one advanced marksmanship session. "Medical personnel probably think trajectory means the path of a thermometer. They don't understand the mathematics and science behind real precision shooting." Seaman Thompson had joined the dismissive commentary with enthusiasm that revealed his own limited understanding of advanced ballistics. "She probably thinks atmospheric conditions means whether it's raining." Medical officers live in controlled environments where precision is theoretical rather than practical application. Rachel had maintained complete silence during these exchanges, her lack of response reinforcing their assumptions while enabling her to conduct psychological assessments that provided valuable intelligence about candidate capabilities and character traits. Her silence had been interpreted as confirmation of their assumptions about her unfamiliarity with advanced marksmanship, but actually represented tactical decision-making that preserved her operational cover while gathering information necessary for her classified assessment mission. Master Chief Petty Officer Davidson, the facility's senior marksmanship instructor, had initially viewed Rachel as competent medical support whose obvious lack of weapons experience made her unsuitable for understanding advanced precision shooting training. "She handles medical duties professionally," Davidson had commented to his staff, "but she clearly doesn't grasp the complexities of ballistic science and environmental compensation that define elite marksmanship." What Davidson didn't realize was that Rachel was conducting ballistics analysis that exceeded his own expertise by several orders of magnitude, evaluating atmospheric conditions and trajectory possibilities with capabilities developed through programs that existed beyond normal military classification levels. Her assessment of facility conditions included comprehensive analysis of wind patterns, temperature variations, atmospheric pressure changes, and terrain characteristics that affected ballistics performance throughout the training areas. Her understanding of environmental factors exceeded that of meteorological specialists who supported conventional military operations. The situation that would reveal Rachel's true capabilities began during an advanced marksmanship demonstration designed to show candidates the most challenging precision shooting scenarios they might encounter in operational environments. Davidson had arranged a complex target array that tested shooting skills under conditions that pushed conventional marksmanship to its limits. 7 targets had been positioned at distances ranging from 800 to 1,500 yards, placed at different elevations and angles that required sophisticated ballistics calculations for successful engagement. The demonstration was intended to show candidates why advanced marksmanship required years of training and extensive understanding of ballistic science. The target arrangement had been designed to illustrate how environmental factors, distance calculations, and atmospheric conditions affected precision shooting under realistic operational conditions. "Gentlemen," Davidson announced to the assembled candidates, "this target array represents the kind of challenges you'll face in operational environments where multiple threats must be engaged rapidly under difficult conditions. Notice how atmospheric conditions, elevation changes, and distance variations require different ballistic solutions for each target. His explanation of the shooting challenges was comprehensive and intimidating. Each target required different environmental compensations. The distances stretched conventional equipment capabilities, and the time constraints demanded shooting skills that few military personnel ever achieved. The first candidate to attempt the challenge was Rivera, whose competitive shooting background and expert qualifications made him the logical choice for demonstrating advanced marksmanship techniques. His approach was methodical and professional, calculating environmental factors and adjusting his rifle for optimal performance. Rivera's performance was respectable for conventional military marksmanship standards. He successfully engaged 4 of the 7 targets, with his misses occurring at the extreme distances where atmospheric conditions exceeded his ability to calculate accurate compensations. His time for engaging all 7 targets had been 8 minutes and 43 seconds. "Good shooting, Rivera," Davidson commented. "Your performance demonstrates competent advanced marksmanship under challenging conditions. The targets you missed represent shooting scenarios that require specialized training beyond conventional military programs." Additional candidates attempted the challenge with results that reflected typical advanced military marksmanship capabilities. The best performance achieved 5 successful target engagements out of 7 attempts, with times ranging from 7 to 12 minutes, depending on candidate experience and equipment familiarity. Davidson's analysis of candidate performance was designed to emphasize the challenges they would face in operational environments where advanced marksmanship could determine mission success. His intention was educational rather than competitive, demonstrating why precision shooting required extensive training and specialized knowledge. But Rivera's commentary during the exercise had included dismissive observations about personnel who lacked understanding of advanced marksmanship principles, comments that were clearly directed at Rachel despite her medical role and apparent unfamiliarity with precision shooting. Real ballistic science requires understanding of mathematics and physics that most people never study, Rivera had announced while other candidates attempted the challenge. Medical personnel probably think atmospheric compensation means adjusting for altitude sickness. His comments had been overheard by Master Chief Davidson, who decided to expand the demonstration by inviting personnel to observe the target engagement process from different perspectives that might enhance their understanding of ballistics principles. Anyone else interested in observing advanced marksmanship from the firing line? Davidson asked the assembled group. This is an educational opportunity to understand how atmospheric conditions and distance calculations affect precision shooting. The invitation had been intended for instructional staff and candidates with advanced marksmanship backgrounds, but Rivera decided to make the demonstration more interesting by suggesting that medical personnel should observe the challenge to appreciate the complexity of skills they couldn't understand. "How about we let the doc observe from the firing line?" Rivera announced with obvious condescension. She can see what real precision shooting looks like when performed by personnel with proper training and equipment. The suggestion was met with laughter from several candidates who anticipated that medical personnel would be impressed by marksmanship capabilities that exceeded their understanding. Their expectations were based on assumptions about the relationship between medical training and weapons expertise. Rachel's response to the invitation was characteristically quiet. "I'd be happy to observe if it would be educational." Davidson had hesitated, understanding that positioning medical personnel at the firing line during advanced marksmanship demonstration could create safety concerns if they lacked familiarity with weapons and ballistics procedures. "Doc, observation from the firing line requires understanding of weapons safety and ballistics procedures," Davidson explained carefully. "This isn't routine medical equipment we're working with." But Rachel's professional competence and obvious intelligence convinced Davidson that she could observe safely while gaining educational value from understanding advanced marksmanship principles that might enhance her medical support capabilities. "We'll position you safely behind the firing line," Davidson decided. "You can observe the ballistics calculations and environmental compensation techniques that define precision shooting at these distances." What happened next would revolutionize ballistics science and marksmanship training throughout the American military. Rachel's observation of the target array had been conducted with analysis that immediately identified ballistic solutions that exceeded anything the candidates or instructors had calculated. Her assessment of atmospheric conditions, trajectory requirements, and environmental factors had been completed in seconds rather than the minutes required by conventional ballistics analysis. Her understanding of the physics involved had enabled her to identify a shooting solution that could engage all 7 targets using principles that the observers hadn't considered. Rather than treating each target as an independent engagement requiring separate calculations, she had recognized the possibility of utilizing ricochet dynamics and atmospheric effects to engage multiple targets with sequential impacts from a single bullet. "Master Chief," Rachel said quietly, "would it be possible to attempt a demonstration of alternative ballistics principles?" Davidson's response had mixed surprise with professional curiosity. "Ma'am, alternative ballistics approaches require advanced training that exceeds standard military marksmanship. What kind of demonstration did you have in mind?" Rachel's answer had been delivered with the same quiet confidence that had characterized her career. A single-shot engagement of all 7 targets using ricochet trajectory and atmospheric compensation techniques. The suggestion had been so unexpected that Davidson initially questioned whether he had understood correctly. Single bullets couldn't engage multiple targets at different distances and elevations, particularly not with the precision required for center mass hits on each target. "Lieutenant Commander," Davidson replied carefully, "engaging 7 targets with a single bullet would require ballistics calculations that exceed computer modeling capabilities. That's not within the realm of practical marksmanship." But Rachel's confidence and obvious intelligence suggested that she might understand ballistics principles that could provide solutions beyond conventional approaches. Davidson's curiosity about her theoretical knowledge convinced him to allow a demonstration that might be educational even if unsuccessful. "If you're willing to attempt the demonstration," Davidson said, "we'll provide access to appropriate equipment and ensure safe firing procedures. But understand that what you're suggesting exceeds the capabilities of any marksmanship system we have available." Rachel's preparation for the demonstration had begun with environmental analysis that exceeded anything the candidates had witnessed during their training. Her assessment of atmospheric conditions had been comprehensive and sophisticated, accounting for factors that conventional ballistics training never addressed. Her examination of the target array had involved calculations that she performed mentally while observing surface materials, angles, distances, and environmental conditions that would affect bullet trajectory through multiple ricochet sequences. Her analysis had been completed in minutes rather than the hours that computer modeling would have required. Her equipment selection had been methodical and precise, choosing ammunition and rifle configuration that would optimize performance for the complex trajectory she had calculated. Her preparation had demonstrated familiarity with ballistics principles that exceeded standard military training by significant margins. The shot that Rachel fired had produced a distinctive crack that seemed different from conventional rifle reports. The bullet's initial trajectory had appeared normal to observers, but its impact with the first target had initiated a ricochet sequence that defied conventional understanding of ballistics physics. The ricochet from the first target had been precisely calculated to redirect toward the second target at the optimal angle and velocity for continued trajectory control. The impact with the second target had continued the sequence, with each ricochet calculated to maintain sufficient velocity and accuracy for subsequent target engagement. The bullet's path through all 7 targets had been mathematically perfect, with each ricochet occurring at angles that preserved enough kinetic energy and directional control for accurate engagement of the next target in the sequence. The entire trajectory had been completed in less than 3 seconds from initial shot to final impact. The electronic scoring systems had confirmed what the spotting scopes had documented: 7 perfect center mass hits achieved through a single bullet that had ricocheted through a calculated trajectory that challenged fundamental understanding of ballistics science. The range had fallen completely silent as 46 SEAL candidates, multiple instructors, and facility staff stared at a medical officer who had just achieved something that physics textbooks would have declared impossible. Master Chief Davidson had been the first to approach the electronic scoring station, his expression mixing disbelief with growing recognition that their medical officer possessed capabilities that exceeded his understanding of human potential. "Lieutenant Commander Stone," Davidson said, his voice carrying obvious amazement, "what you've accomplished exceeds every documented achievement in marksmanship history. Your ballistics calculations and trajectory control represent capabilities that challenge fundamental understanding of precision shooting. Rachel's response had been delivered in her characteristic, quiet manner. The shot required analyzing surface compositions, atmospheric conditions, and trajectory mathematics to calculate optimal ricochet sequences. The physics are complex, but manageable with proper environmental assessment. The implications of her statement had begun to reshape how everyone at the facility understood their medical officer's true capabilities and background. Davidson had asked the question everyone was thinking. Ma'am, what kind of medical training develops ballistics expertise that exceeds university physics programs and military research capabilities? Rachel's answer had provided the first glimpse into programs that most military personnel would never encounter. Specialized research that applies advanced physics principles to medical applications requiring precise trajectory control and environmental analysis. Over the following hours, as facility leadership had coordinated with agencies that required clearances, exceeding anything they possessed, carefully controlled information about Rachel's background had been revealed through channels that bypassed normal military command structures. The revelation had permanently compromised Rachel's cover, but had also provided ballistics capabilities that could revolutionize how American forces approach precision engagement challenges that conventional marksmanship couldn't address. The advanced ballistics training program Rachel developed became unlike anything available in military education. Working within operational security constraints that required approval from defense research agencies, she created instruction that taught candidates atmospheric science, ricochet mathematics, and trajectory analysis that reflected capabilities developed through the most classified research into ballistics physics. Her instruction methods focused on environmental analysis and mathematical calculation rather than conventional shooting techniques, enabling candidates to approach marksmanship challenges through scientific principles that could overcome equipment limitations and environmental obstacles. What Lieutenant Commander Stone is teaching you, Master Chief Davidson explained to new candidates, represents ballistics science at levels that most physicists never encounter. This training will develop analytical capabilities that could enable precision engagement under conditions where conventional marksmanship would be ineffective. Rachel's training scenarios included ricochet trajectory calculation, atmospheric manipulation techniques, and environmental analysis that enabled precision shooting under conditions that would defeat conventional approaches. Her instruction challenged candidates to understand marksmanship as applied physics rather than equipment-dependent skill. The mathematical components of her training addressed ballistics calculation methods that exceeded computer modeling capabilities. Candidates learned to analyze atmospheric conditions, surface materials, and trajectory requirements using principles borrowed from advanced physics and engineering disciplines. Her training included advanced atmospheric science that taught candidates to utilize environmental conditions as tactical advantages rather than obstacles to overcome. This education enabled precision shooting under conditions where conventional techniques would result in mission failure. The facility's reputation for producing exceptionally capable precision marksmen was enhanced by Rachel's ballistics training programs. Graduates reported achieving shooting capabilities they had never imagined possible, with ballistics understanding that exceeded university physics education. International military forces began requesting information about the advanced ballistics training being conducted at the facility. Rachel's reputation within the global military marksmanship community grew through successful methods that other nations wanted to understand and potentially implement. Years later, when operational security constraints allowed limited disclosure about her background, Rachel's story became legendary throughout the special operations and ballistics research communities. Her example demonstrated that human marksmanship capabilities could transcend conventional limitations through scientific approaches to ballistics analysis. The candidates who had initially dismissed her medical background became devoted advocates for Rachel's training methods, understanding that they had received instruction from someone whose ballistics expertise represented the absolute pinnacle of marksmanship science. The facility where assumptions about medical personnel had led to dismissive attitudes became a place where ballistics excellence was recognized and developed regardless of apparent background or specialty. Rachel's legacy reminded everyone that true expertise often serves quietly until circumstances require its demonstration. The moment when Rachel's single shot eliminated 7 targets had lasted only seconds, but its impact continued for years, reminding everyone that exceptional capabilities often hide behind humble professional service and that assumptions about others' limitations often reveal our own failure to recognize true mastery. Her story became a permanent reminder that in special operations, the most valuable people are often those whose true expertise remains carefully concealed behind routine professional responsibilities, waiting for the moment when their capabilities can contribute to developing capabilities that exceed anything previously thought possible. This story was brought to you by Silent Salute. Before we discover our next incredible tale, here's our question. Have you ever encountered someone whose quiet expertise far exceeded what their role suggested? Have you witnessed moments when true mastery revealed itself through achievements that seemed impossible? Tell us in the comments about times when you realized that someone's humble demeanor masked extraordinary capabilities. And if you believe that the greatest expertise often serves without seeking recognition until called upon to demonstrate the impossible, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. Every story reminds us that exceptional abilities often hide behind the most ordinary professional appearances, and that those who achieve the impossible often do so with the quiet confidence that comes from true mastery.